Hello, beautiful souls. What is up? What is happening? Happy Monday to you guys. A good morning. You guys will have to forgive presentation today. I feel like my entire like frontal lobe is swollen. I'm not sure if this is what a migraine is because I've never really had one before, but there's something with my like occipital and the nerve back to my brain like I really hope what's happening is like this magical third eye activation that just launches me into a whole new level of like actualization and ascension. But just the amount of pressure that I feel. And I've had like some brain fog and dizziness. And I've talked to you guys a little bit about like the health stuff that I've gone through and the issues that I faced after going through adrenal fatigue and failure and my nervous system collapse and we're doing blood tests and all kinds of stuff for this. My anemia, we're just getting our shit on track, and sometimes we just have little um like flare-ups. And so we're going through one of those right now, but I wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys. I do have my girls with me, so there might be some minor interruptions. So just bear with me as we walk through this beautiful snowy Monday. One of the posts that I did in my private group on Facebook, that group is called Burdensome Babes, and that goes hand in hand with Burdensome Blessings. And it's just like a private, safe place for where I post meditations and talk about um, our healing practices and do like journaling um, things. Words are going to be hard today, so seriously, just follow me through this. But it's amazing. So find me on Facebook if you guys want. I can add you to the Burdensome Babes group if you are interested in doing more learning, or if you guys even want to do some teaching on the air, if you guys have different healing modalities and would like to share. This essentially is just a safe place for people to come and to find journaling prompts. That's the word that I was looking for, or healing practices, somatic exercises, because I post a lot of it on my Facebook, but I feel like my Facebook feed gets filled up so fast with all of my like Substack entries and everything that's happening. So it's almost too much, and the algorithm doesn't really get the traction that I want it to get because I feel like I'm just like flooding everybody with so much information. It's valuable, and I hope you guys find it. I hope the right people find their way to the proper information that they need for their growth and development, right? That's what we're here for. We're here just sharing information. A lot of this is stuff that I've come to learn and understand and integrate in my life, and the ways that it has transformed every aspect of my life, my soul, my heart. And so that's what I'm here just sharing with you guys. And so we had some thoughts today that we wanted to get on here and share. I was going to wait to share until I was like all done up and whatever, but you get me in the real and the raw today. And so many of you know I purchased a house back in August, and this has been quite the adventure. It is a beautiful house, an amazing dwelling place that like this is my sanctuary, okay? I have wanted the security and safety of this for me and my children. Like I've had this dream and this goal and this vision of me like standing at the kitchen sink and looking out the window to the backyard, and my kids could just run freely and they could play, and I knew that they were safe in that yard because the places that I had come from were not safe places previously, whether it be the home that there was unsafe individuals in, or it was the actual like demographics of the like neighborhood that I lived in. Not necessarily the slums, the ghetto, like they're places that were lower income and more poverty driven, and they were gentrified, you know? And but that was the only places I could afford to purchase homes in. And so lived in those neighborhoods. And if you've been in the salon, you've heard me talk about it. Like in the previous townhome that was owned, we would play a game, and it was basically called, is that gunshots or is that fireworks? And 90% of the times it was not fireworks, you guys. Although I will say on the 4th of July, like those fireworks and the parties that they would throw, like those, oh, pop off. That neighborhood was fire on the 4th of July. And if you know me, like that's one of my favorite holidays. Like when I die, cremate me and put me in a firework. Except for not really. I don't know that I want to be cremated. Probably just return me to the earth, like if you can in natural form. Anyways, that's a whole other side quest. I live in this neighborhood now that is just peaceful and quiet, and having that backyard vision of me standing at the kitchen sink and looking to the backyard and my kids playing. Like I had a moment this summer, late summer, into the early fall where I was like, this is it. Like I'm doing it. We did it. Like this is fantastic. And coming from where we were at 3 years ago, where I was homeless with my 3 kids and pregnant with my fourth, like these are huge achievements and very big accomplishments, right? And so in my sanctuary, like we have still had a multitude of issues. Like we had a mouse problem that I talked about at one point, which is now almost fully mitigated. Still got some back end to clean up, but having the sanctuary and having these little teeny tiny pests in it, like that does something to you. And I really had to grow through that experience. I really had to choose peace in that time over literal panic over these pests that were in my home. Okay. And that can be an analogy for so many things in our lives, but we're not going to go there today. We're going to talk about the neighborhood. So I live in this, without giving too many details away, I live in this neighborhood that is just like, it is, oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's quiet. There's younger families that are finally starting to move in. But there is also some older folk that live around, and these individuals have been so welcoming and so kind, so generous. There's one older man that stops. I just want to know this older man's story. I haven't got to sit down with him yet, but every time I'm outside, he stops and he talks to me, and it's just like the sweetest heart and the sweetest soul, and really just like that community feel in the suburban like escape, right? My big dreams and goals are to have like acreage, farmland somewhere away from the city, but we're going step by step, and we are so enjoying the moments and what we do have in the here and the now, the biggest like appreciation for it, right? But one of the things is the mailboxes. Okay. So at one point, I had received in the mail multiple notifications from the mailman, and each notification it got like a little more aggressive. Like you could tell from the writing, like there was aggression behind what was happening. And these were notices that the mailboxes were blocked by a car. And it like, so imagine like two cars parked, mailboxes are behind it, and then there's wide open spaces in between. Like if you've ever been to Denver proper or around like downtown Denver, just the outskirts of Denver, and those streets are lined with cars, you guys, like you can't even drive two cars down, and one car will have to pull off to the side to let the other car go through because there's just, it's congested. Okay. And so when I'm getting these notifications, and it's like literally I'm reading these, there was 3 different ones, and it was like, there's something blocking the mailbox. By next time, I will not be able to deliver the mail. And I'm like, be so fucking for real with me right now in this suburban escape. Like, what do you mean there's something blocking the mailbox? You cannot walk around the car? Like, you just pull your mail truck up. And I'm like, my thing is really processing, like, is this really, like, you went back to your truck and got your notepad out and decided that you were aggressively going to write a notice that if there is a vehicle impeding your way, your direct pathway from your mail truck and where you park it to the mailbox, that you're not going to deliver my mail, right? And so perspective came up, and I had thought about waiting for the mailman to come out and having a conversation with him at one point or another. But in AA, beautiful principles are taught to the pause before the reaction, right? You have a pause before, and it helps turn your reaction into a well thought out response or no response at all. And this is a beautiful thing for somebody like me. Like, I needed this in my life, right? And this situation specifically, magical, okay? And so what I'm thinking is, like, in the grand scheme of things, this really isn't that big of a deal, my guy. Take 5 extra steps. Like, I don't know if you have your little step counter on your thing, but maybe this would be a beneficial thing to not like stress and sweat. What do you mean? And so instead of going out there and getting all wrapped around the axle about some bullshit and having an interaction that's not going to be healthy or productive, I started manifesting, right? Because I'm like, I hope you get sent to the streets of Denver, because those mail delivery individuals have to walk the streets, whether it's rain, snow, whatever, to deliver the mail. You can't drive up and down the streets because there's just cars for miles, you know? And so that's like, instead of handling this in my own way, I'm like, you know what? Just send them to the streets of Denver. And I feel like that's pretty applicable to every area of life. Like, if you get sent to the streets of Denver, you're fixing to learn some shit in the hard ways. And so instead of taking things into my own hands, we are surrendering and praying. And they might not be the most enlightening prayers or the healthiest thing, but I'm like, karma will do its job. Karma is a hungry bitch, and karma knows everybody's address. Don't go sideways at me with 3 different notifications about a car parked where a car is supposed to be parked, and you being disgruntled about mail delivery. I'm like, send them to the streets of Denver. Just send them to the streets, you know? So that's going to be my new manifestation and prayers moving forward whenever there is issue in my life. So I just share that little nugget and bit of wisdom with you. But one of the most beautiful things was, after I had this whole turnaround experience where I'm like, this isn't worth my time, effort, and energy. We're going to let it be. I had our neighbor pull up, and that's the older guy I was talking about, and just having this reflection of like, I have so much gratitude to be in this place where I'm at, the transition of what's happening, the growth and development, like, to have a neighbor stop by, know me by first name, and be able to speak love and light into my life, and like, just be this beautiful beacon of generation. I don't know, there's something there. There's something about having conversations with older folks that have this level of wisdom and lived life experience, and I don't know, the utmost like consideration and love there. But it reminded me of something that I had experienced in one of the homes that I lived in previously, where I was telling you, like, these were not great areas, you know? And so the neighbors I have now have enriched my life in very healthy ways, where the neighbors I had previously, it was just lower vibrationally. And there was a girl that had showed up at my neighbor's house with a bat. And I saw this girl coming. I saw her walking up with a bat. And I was like, oh, what is happening? And I don't know the circumstances, the situation behind what happened, but every single one of the windows in the front, like, doorway area, because there's like a door and then side windows and then 2 other windows, every single one of those windows was busted out. The police were called. It was not very often that the police would actually show up in those areas if they were called, but they showed up this time, and she knew they were coming, and she waited for them. And so I know that she definitely walked away with some vandalism charges, and it left me wondering, like, I don't know what happened to inspire that, but that was a woman scorned, and she handled business to some degree that I was like, holy shit, that was a sight to see. Super grateful for that, but also super grateful to live in a different neighborhood where that is not the norm, where I don't have to be like, hey kids, let's go inside, like, some shit's about to go down, the cops are showing up, and then have to explain. Like, those are great teaching moments, but those are not the teaching moments that I want my children to have. So I'm grateful to be in a different phase of life and in a different area now, because, like, this signifies growth in my life. This signifies the development in my life and the way that things have transitioned and changed. And it's been hard fought. it has not been without like a lot of trauma, a lot of like toil, a lot of strength, and having to find dignity in places that I didn't know it had existed, you know? So when I talk about these things, I hope you guys know it never comes from a heart position of like looking down, like my nose is not up in the air in any way, shape, or form. And like getting this house was hard. We looked at probably over 50 different houses, and I wasn't settling. I wasn't saying no for nothing. Like having the amount of children that I do, I'm like I need like a 6,000 square foot home for $5 literally. And so the way that we got into this home was very lucky. But I also had to make some choices, you know? And so moving into this home, I did not do an inspection on it, which like don't recommend. And I knew at the time when I waived the inspection, like I knew that was going to come with some back end ramifications, and it definitely has. But it's situations that I'm like taking on the chin, like I'll show up and show out. I'm going to complain about it. I'm probably going to cry about it, but I'm going to handle business in the end, and I'm going to come out with gratitude and more experience. Okay. Um, Absolutely beautiful. It's so phenomenal. So phenomenal. But transition, the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is this level of surrender. I've been on the 12-step journey. I'm now working my way through step 2. I do this in the big book of AA, and then the 12 by 12 and 12. I think it's the 12 and 12. And then there's a third book that my sponsor recommended to me that is just like absolute fire. Like, I cannot get enough of this shit. I don't have enough time to read. I have to still show up and exist in society, but there are days where I wish that I could just be lost away in a stranded cabin next to a fireplace, like the snow falling, and I could just sit there and read for hours and forget that I have any responsibilities, you know? That's not what's happening though. We are showing up fully, we're handling business, and we're enjoying those downtimes and those moments when we get it and making the most of the time that we have. So, in doing step 2, this is level of surrender. Okay. Getting into these conversations, it's going to mirror part of my previous podcast that I had posted. And in there, I talked about this being absolute blasphemy, and then I never finished the thought on it. And I will do that a lot, you guys. I might have ADHD, ADD, I don't know, or just an expansive brain that bounces all over the place. But if you guys follow me through it, like you guys are the real MVPs, right? So I said, this is going to be absolute just blasphemy. The next thing that comes out of my mouth. Never said it. Here we are. I'm laying it all out. You guys don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it, but this is just what works for me. And so when I think about surrender, my brain immediately goes to God, source, creator, the divine, whatever works for you, fill that in, is the ultimate dom. And that, like, the reason why it's blasphemous is because, like, how dare I relate something that is just like full of divinity to BDSM world and all of that. But it's just how my brain works, you guys. There's just when like I was writing out my second step and all of these prompts that I had for it, all I could think about was creation. And that goes hand in hand with God being the ultimate Dom, and then also labor and delivery. And so when I'm thinking about surrender, the ways that I relate it to my personal experiences, here comes the girls. So this is like perfect. Hi, babies. Oh, you made ice creams? Oh, bless. Bless. Oh, yummy. We got ice creams. Okay. You guys go back out there. Mommy's gonna finish her meeting, okay? Okay. But surrender makes me think, hey,
I want Betty Babe.
hey,
Betty Babe.
listen to me, please. Look at my eyes. I will be out there in just a few minutes, okay?
Then we have a Betty Babe.
Not right now.
Oh,
Oh, you want your piggy bank? Yes. Sorry, babe. Piggy bank. There you go. Creation, labor and delivery. There we go. Contractions. Um, when I think about surrender, I touch back on the times in my life where I had to surrender the most. And I had the most beautiful conversation with one of my clients last night about labor and delivery and experiencing contractions and what that feels like. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, that's okay too. But as a female, when you have experienced labor and delivery and you bring a baby earthside, that level of surrender, if you go unmedicated into childbirth with each and every contraction, because if you think about like having your body so binded up, like if you have a contraction and you are fighting it, it makes it 10 times worse. It makes it 10 times longer. And you really need the tools and the knowledge and all of this going into those experiences to help prep and prime you for what you're about to go through, because that shit is no joke. It is no joke. That is initiation into motherhood in a way that I don't know that I have the proper explanation for. I'm gonna try, but it might not do it justice, you know? And so I had one childbirth that was medicated and I had 3 that were unmedicated. And that's a whole nother story. Maybe I'll get into it, maybe I won't. But that is what I can relate surrender to the most, because when those contractions would come, you know, at first it's like 5 minutes apart and it only lasts for 30 seconds. And then they get closer together where like it's a minute apart and then it lasts for a minute. And so you get this minute of reprieve in between, right? You better maximize that time. You better know your breathing exercises and how to position your body and all of these things. Then they start stacking on top of each other. When you get those contractions back to back to back to back, and there's no reprieve in between, like knowing like when you get into transition phase, so knowing those phases of labor and delivery and having the knowledge, like that's going to help you get through it. But when you get into transition phase, you feel like that's when you want to tap out. You know, like that every single time I was like, I made a mistake. I don't think I can do this. I want out. Like, I can't. And that's where it's really important to have a doula and that communal support next to you to be like, you can do this. You are going to get through this. Almost every single time I went into transition, I vomited and then I knew the baby was coming, right? But this level of surrender that it took me, this mastery over my mind, because your mind tells you we're collapsing, we can't do this, we don't have the energy for this is too much pain, your body's going into shock. So you have to have that mastery over your mind and this level of like meditative release of like working and becoming one and being grounded with your body and knowing that each contraction is a step closer to the succession of that labor and delivery experience. And on this other side of that, you're going to experience beauty and a miracle brought forth in a way that like, my goodness. So when I'm like writing out my steps, this is what I can relate this to. And so I'm talking about this on this deep level, like very intimate times in my life where all I can think about is source and creation and the divinity of all of this wrapped into one. And thank God my sponsor understands these things without me having to explain to in depth. Like, you need to surround yourself with people that you don't have to translate your soul to. Like, this experience has helped me open up and learn in a way that I'm like, this is an easy relationship because she knows, she gets it, she understands all of it. She's done all of this work that I am like, I so aspire to follow in the footsteps of. It is the most beautiful stuff ever. It is like, oh, also don't have words for it. We're going to keep on working on finding the proper words to explain things, but unless you've experienced it, sometimes it's hard. And even when you have experienced it, sometimes it's hard to explain, you know? It's more than just a concept and an idea. It's literal, just fucking magic. It's spiritual. It's, I don't know, fantastic. It's amazing. But God being the ultimate Dom and me finding myself in surrender is like, I don't want to fight. the hard times. I want to ebb and flow and be one with every season that comes into my life, with every opportunity. Like, I have learned what it looks like to do things my way. And the fallout of that every single time, like, I can transmute it. There's a great lesson learned. But that is not what I desire in my life anymore. Like, I want a soft girl, sweet, feminine life. I don't want to have to live in my masculine energy anymore. I don't want to have to fight tooth and nail for serenity and peace. Like, so me being in surrender has been one of the most magical things, because it's like I had posted on TikTok in one of my TikTok talks about, like, I care so much that I can't care. And so when I surrender to that level where I'm like, yo, like, this is your problem. Handle your children. I am not doing this. This is above my pay grade. And I operate in that. And I only answer to that still small voice, and am led by that, like, that inner knowing, that voice. But in order to hear that voice, I have to make sure that everything else around me is not chaotic, that there is a stillness where I can hear it, because it being a still small voice is that way for a reason. It requires you to slow down. It requires you to no longer subscribe to the things that do not serve you well. But if you are in search, you are pining for that, you will do everything that you can to silence everything around you and sit with that. But sometimes it also takes time, effort, and energy and practice to learn what that voice is, to learn what that peace is. Because when we are constantly outsourcing our energy, our love, we're looking for validation outside of ourselves, like, you're going to miss it almost every single time. And what you're getting, honestly, when you are outsourcing is this counterfeit version of a greater love and a greater peace and a greater understanding. But you have to work through codependency. You have to come to know your attachments. You have to open up and start this journey of self-actualization. You have to be hungry for it in order to discover it. And sometimes it might just catch you with a left hook. That's happened to me before, when I'm like, oh shoot, like, wasn't looking for that, but here it is. I'm going to take that lesson and what comes from it, and we're going to run with it. And sometimes it puts you into this season of being like, you didn't know that you needed to know, but now you know, and you're going to do better because of it. And so even through those seasons, like, so much gratitude. But I would prefer it to be an easy, soft life, instead of me holding on with everything I have, thinking about contractually going back to, like, labor and delivery and the mastery over your mind, and this, like, level of surrender that it takes with ebb and flow. I would rather ride the waves with an abandon and peace and just stillness than to be holding on for dear life, like, white knuckling the fuck out of it. Like, let go, let it be. And it is a lot easier said than it is done, you guys. But one of the questions that I was asked on step 2 is, what are you not willing to surrender to God? And I was in a place where I'm like, I'm willing to surrender everything, all of it. And then there were situations in my life that came up that was like, oh, maybe you're not ready to surrender this, or maybe you're not ready to surrender this. And upon, like, further reflection, I was like, oh my gosh, there are things that I try to hold on to so tight. And I came from a place, you guys, where you have to understand, like, I was out of control for a really long time. I was a shell of a human. I was a slave to toxicity and volatile behavior. Like, I was acting out of a very hurt, wounded place. And I just thought that that was normal. I thought that's who I was. I was surrounded by that. Like, that's how I grew up. But recognizing, like, authentically, that's not who I am. That's not what I want. That's not what I desire. Like, and it's also not going to produce the results that I want and need out of this life. Like, I have very important callings and passions to fulfill why I'm here. Like, we got projects to work on, and there's no room for any of that toxicity or volatile behavior. There's no room for low vibrational bullshit. Like, can't do it, won't do it. Anyways, I used to think that I had control issues so bad because I was out of control for so long of my life that finally when I got sober, I wasn't working recovery, but I was sober for 7 years and then I relapsed, right? But during that time of sobriety, I really hadn't worked recovery and I was basically a dry drunk. I did not work on overhauling the deep-seated dysfunction within myself. Like, I was sober and that was enough, and a lot of great, beautiful things came from that, don't get me wrong. But there was still a lot of unrest inside, and that unrest goes unchecked. And when it goes unchecked, you end up bleeding all over the people in your life that did not cause the wounds, you know? So there was just like a lot more work that needed to be done there. Went through a relapse, got sober again when I got pregnant with my 4-year-old. And since then, I have been able to start working my recovery and see the benefit of it, how I ended up in the rooms of AA. Maybe sometime you guys will hear that story. I don't know that it's appropriate to tell right now, but it goes hand in hand with God being the ultimate dom and being in submission. Like, I think, to follow me through this side quest, and then hopefully I'll touch base back on the control thing. I think it's really difficult being a female in this society and hearing the word submission and where that comes from, because a lot of us, we relate it directly to biblical principles, and there is a level of imbalance of power that can come with those concepts and ideas and understandings. They can be executed very poorly, especially within the church. And there can be these unhealthy dynamics in relationships where you are in submission to your leader, right? And that leader, typically in a traditional marital role relationship, is a male. And if they don't have a proper understanding of what being in submission looks like, it becomes very dangerous. Okay. And so as a female, I practice submission in my life. Like this hoodie that I'm wearing right now, on the back of it, it says disobedient cunt. It is the best hoodie ever. I love wearing it. But the funniest thing about it is I love obedience. Like, I love me hey, that's a good girl, great job, you know? And so I wear this hoodie and it probably gives people the total wrong impression. I am a little rebellious. I do have an issue with misplaced authority, but I am a sucker. I am a sucker for obedience, and I am a sucker for order. Okay. But the order is we are in submission to leader. But if you cannot lead me better than I lead myself, I cannot be in submission to you, right? If I can govern myself and I can lead myself better than you would lead me, or your principles are not in alignment with the ways that I lead myself, I'm not going to be able to be in submission. But that man or that head of house, like, equality doesn't mean sameness. We can go into a whole conversation about all of this, you guys, like deep dive scripture. We can look into the spirituality of it, all of these things, right? That individual that you are in submission to has to be in submission to Creator first and foremost. And that is where the ultimate order comes from. And within that, there will be honor, there will be respect, there will be dignity, there will be hope, there will be this perfect teamwork, partnership dynamic that takes place and happens. But so many times, that scripture or that idea, the theology behind that, like, it is so taken out of context. And that's where the abuse dynamics can come in at, right? If you have an unhealthy balance, or there is no balance, if you have an unhealthy, like, power assertion that takes place, immediate, you're out of lockstep. That is not in alignment, you guys. And I could go into a whole other conversation about what that looks like and what is supposed to be for you. But females in this society, we are raised up thinking some foul shit and being indoctrinated into some stuff that it's abhorrent. And so here I am at the ripe age of 35, figuring a lot of this out. It's been through a lot of trial and error. It's been through a lot of like studying and philosophical like seeking and searching. And I don't know everything, you guys. I bring all of this to you with the utmost humility that I could be off. And I try to hold things with a pretty open hand and neutrality, and always try to know that I can grow out of thought processes and beliefs, and like, I don't know, just hold it with open hands, right? Because it can make or break your life if you have and hold on to this like very black and white thinking, which a lot of us who've come out of traumatic situations or trauma, like, we develop the narrow-minded thinking, the black and white thinking, because our brain has to make decisions very quickly, so it doesn't leave a lot of room for plasticity, right? But once you start to grow, once you start to have security and safety and more like within yourself, you can start experiencing more of the gray area, and it's a safer place to say, like, what are my morals? What are my beliefs? What are my values? Like, me personally, but to get to the real, like, root in your authenticity, you can't really be in survival mode. And there's like 16 different branches I could go off in talking about this stuff, but once you start coming into yourself and you start developing this relationship with yourself where you can drop your shoulders and unlock your jaw and just like take a deep breath, and you start experiencing this nervous system release and healing, that's where you really can begin to have this embodied approach. And you want to change your clothes? Okay, your basket's upstairs.
No, they're for those down here.
Okay, go ahead. Just make sure you fold those ones up and put them away, okay? I don't remember where I was at. We're gonna go back to control. Anyways, I had a very type A, micromanagey approach to everything. This is actually going to tie hand in hand with what I was just talking about, but I had this very like, I know what's right. This is the way things need to be done. If I make a plan, anything goes away from that plan. I struggled with it. Like, I was head honcho, I was leader, I was doing the dang thing, and there was no room for flexibility in that. Like, because I was not in a place where I could handle a switch up and have peace within that, being out of control for so long, I became basically like I had severe control issues. And I just recognize that comes from a place like, it doesn't matter if you trust other people or not. If you don't trust yourself, that's where that over assertion of like power or that dynamic comes from. And so you guys have probably heard me talk about like my idea that I don't know if trust between you and another person really, like, it's a thing, but really where those like that lack comes from, if you're like, oh, I don't trust them, or we have these trust issues in our life that are repetitive, it literally is symptomatic in giving us insight to ourselves that you really don't trust yourself. And when you establish that relationship with yourself, when you can operate in trust and authenticity, everything changes. When you know that you don't have to outsource your safety and security anymore because you have that within you, everything changes. The people you surround yourself with, the partners that you choose, like, I fought this for a very long time because as a female, I was told that I need to be in submission, and this is the order of society, and this is how this happens. There's things out of order, okay? And I've experienced it time and time again within myself, within relationship dynamics, like all kinds of stuff, right? But when I was able to finally wake up and recognize, like, wait, this isn't something that somebody else gives to me. Like, I don't need for them to give me trust. If I have trust within myself and I set my boundaries, like, this is a me thing through and through. And so with that, I like that goes hand in hand with the surrender and the release of like, the tighter you hold on to something, the more it slips through your fingers, you know? um I don't know. I'm bouncing all over the place, and I hope you guys can follow me through this and just like my thought processes. There's a lot of like refining that needs to be done within this, but I hope that it brings forth some just like shedding of light on some situations. I hope that there's resonance for you in what I'm speaking and what I'm talking about. We are brought up and taught in this life that so much of what we need is outside of ourselves, and we spend a lifetime looking for it when it really lies within these chambers. Once you get to the place where you accept that and you honor that, and I don't know, I feel like it's just a pinnacle point and it changes things. And I had to go through a lot of hard learned lessons to get to that. There was a lot of ways that I was resistant and I fought it and I was going to do it my way, and my way is going to be the best way. And it didn't leave room for this like intuitive, like serendipitous, like these synchronicities. Like I didn't leave room for any of that, for the divine to do its work. So I don't know. With that, I'm going to wrap up because I was all over the place. My head is killing me. Like, hopefully, I swear, you guys, I hope that this is my third eye just like completely opening and changing. I had went into like this healing space. There was psychic readers and intuitives and card readings and Reiki and the things that happened in that room are forever impactful and life changing. There's one specific situation that I experienced that I haven't talked to anybody about it. Even my closest girlfriend, she was there with me, and I have not told her about this shift and this change that happened within me. And oh, the way. I had found this neon sign at the thrift store, and in this on this neon sign it said she said yes. I'm pretty sure it came from someone's like previous engagement, whatever. But I hung this on my wall. She said yes, because that's one of my things for this year, is just showing up and saying yes and being open, and that helps with the holding things with neutrality and having this like neuroplasticity and just being open to experience. And what has come from that, we're like 27 days into January. I don't even know what day it is, but what has happened even just in these 27 days has been so transformative. I cannot even imagine what lies on the other side of all of this. I reached out to my sponsor. I told her, like, thank you so much for loving and guiding and holding space through this season, because it's been fucking hard holding space through this season, because my life promotion is on the other side of it. The beauty that is coming from showing up and saying yes and having these experiences and allowing, just this allowance. I don't know. I hope that you guys find it. I hope that you're here for it. If there's any questions that I can answer or things that I missed because I finish half of a conversation before I move into the next conversation, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys want to learn more about, know more about. I will continue to do podcasts. They're going to continue to be messy. I'm just in a messy phase of life, like just existence and general. And so thank you guys for having grace for that also, because I'm not going to pretend like I have my life together or any of this shit figured out. I love you guys very, very, very much. Thanks for being here.